And on today's show, how learning multi-jurisdictional structuring can significantly enhance your business. Part 4 of this week's series on the foreign national market in America with foreign national expert and certified financial planner, Carrie Rakovich. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Innsmark, Live Specs, and backroom technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to the show, Carrie. Day 4. Man, I am learning so much. I want to talk about this whole multi-jurisdictional. Boy, I'm so glad that our advisors don't have to memorize this. That's why your team takes care of all this.
Right.
Okay, that's great. We're talking about this. We're talking about U.S. citizen. I kind of get that. That's where we live. But now I'm talking about foreign national. Are they a resident? Are they a permanent resident? Are they a green card holder? Oh, I'm visiting on a visa. Is it permanent visa? I mean, there's so many things to think about. Can you walk me down the line a few of these things? We already know what the U.S. citizen became a citizen, then everything applies to how we do everything. Right. But now foreign nationals, give me the subset entities, because there's a lot here.
There is a lot here. There is a lot here. So let's start with resident alien.
Okay.
Those are our foreign nationals who decide to make the United States their permanent home. Many times they may come here on a permanent visa and then apply for their green card. Once they get their green card, they are a permanent resident here in the United States. We would really look to insure those folks just like we would insure a U.S. citizen. They are given the full exemption that a U.S. citizen gets, $5.34 million this year. So many times for this group of folks in the foreign national market, it has nothing to do with estate planning. It's just your typical family legacy planning, long-term care planning, whatever the hot button might be, business planning, whatever it might be for that family.
Okay, so I want to make sure I understand this, and so our advisors at home do. So once I have a permanent visa or I'm a permanent resident and or green card, any of those three things, pretty much the code is the code, just like it is for the U.S.
It's pretty close. That's right.
Okay. There's some exemptions. There's some examples and I'm sure anomalies to that, exceptions to the rule. Now, but now when we're talking, a lot of times though, we're in these mixed and blended situations.
Yes.
And this is where I want to have you say, now there's a subset to this. Those are the people that are easy to do.
Right.
It's easy to understand. But my next set is, okay, but I am a foreign national married to an American citizen.
Right.
Talk a little bit. We touched on it earlier in the week, but give me a little bit more on this entity.
So a foreign national who's married to a United States citizen, if they live here in the U.S., planning is very similar as it would be to a plan between two U.S. citizens, unless their assets are above and beyond the exemption. Because above and beyond the exemption, if it's our non-U.S. citizen spouse who's the survivor in the relationship, there is no unlimited marital deduction to transfer assets to that spouse without taxes. And that's when we have to go back and either consider QDOT planning or possibly even an ILIT to provide liquidity.
You just brought up something here that just crossed my mind.
Yes.
So if I have a American citizen spouse married to a foreign national, and the foreign national dies, and we're over the unified credit, if I heard you right?
That's
I'm
correct.
over the unified credit. Then even though she's an American citizen, she does not or he does not receive her spouse's money in the first pass on the marital deduction.
Now, no, that's not quite right.
Oh,
so
okay.
if it's the foreign national spouse, the non-U.S. citizen who passes away first, and our U.S. citizen is the survivor, unlimited marital deduction.
Okay, it's
full
the other way
5.3.
around.
It's the other way around that's the risk.
So the risk is the foreign
That's
national.
correct.
The foreign
Is the
national
survivor.
actually is the survivor.
Right.
Wow. So there are tactical issues that you can deploy to
absolutely.
cover this off. Give me one example of how you defend that issue.
The easiest way to defend this issue is an ILIT in the U.S. citizen spouse's name with life insurance for liquidity purposes for our foreign national spouse. That is the easiest way to handle. Now, depending upon the level of assets, it might require that you go into some more exotic techniques like the QDOT, the Qualified Domestic Trust, to protect more assets. But even that isn't a cure-all, because at the time of that second spouse's death, those QDOT assets are taxed as if they were taxed in the first death.
Okay, now when we have people that are foreign nationals that aren't permanent residents, they're on temporary visas in the United States. I notice that some people can purchase securities and stuff like that, but when I'm talking about really planning, is there anything I can do for people that are really on a temp visa?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, because
absolutely.
I think most of our advisors will go, oh, we can't.
No,
do
I
anything.
think you're absolutely right. I think that probably most advisors out there don't realize that there's a possibility to cover, a resident alien even once they find out that they're not a U.S. citizen. But with this we're talking about the non-resident aliens, the folks who may be over here on a temporary visa
Sure.
or visiting their vacation property, whatever it might be. In that case, there absolutely is a solution. For them, planning is all important because remember that their exemption, it's only $60,000, and in the code, it's actually written as a $13,000 credit against the United States estate taxes. And so that $13,000 credit, that's what only shelters $60,000 in assets.
That's nothing.
So this is where, if you can find a pool of folks in that market, that's where you're going to write large cases because the exemption is so low.
Well, I was even thinking, Carrie, even for the normal person who's maybe not very wealthy, 60,000, that puts
nothing.
me in middle class America.
That's exactly right.
Well, we come back for the break. I want to talk a few things because I remember the old days we used to talk about country rankings, country ranking A, B, and
Yes.
C. We'll talk about that right after the break. It's not how much money you make for your clients, it's how much money they get to keep, especially in retirement. But retirement income could cause Social Security benefits to be taxed. One tax advantage alternative is life insurance designed as a non-modified endowment contract that can generate tax-free income without taxing Social Security benefits. These contracts offer differing funding options depending upon your client's risk tolerance. For more information on how life insurance can be part of your retirement planning, just email me at steve@downtobusiness.tv. Brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to the second segment. Of course, I'm with Carrie Rakovich, CFP, CLU, CHFC, talking about foreign nationals. And when I came into the business, we had a little ranking, a country ranking. There was like A, B, C. A's were the people you could write. There were very little problems. But then as you descend into B, C, and D categories, that's when it got rough. Retention levels started shrinking. Yeah, I mean, so walk me through the country codes. Are we still using that?
It's probably very similar to what you're used to from the past, Steve. We do rank the different countries for retention levels, and we'll have them ranked, A to D as far as like the retention level. And I would tell you, it's such a fluid market. Things are always changing, whether it be with the economy or the wars or what's going on in a particular country, that even having them ranked A, B, C, and D, these things change all the time. We do have, quite an exhaustive list of countries that we're already able to offer coverage in, that we've already done all the vetting. We've got legal opinions for those countries. We know what we're able to do, whether or not their residents need, third-party ownership or not. We've got a lot of that already figured out. There are some countries that are just going to be a straight decline.
When you say third-party ownership is an issue, what do you mean by that?
Some countries will not allow their own citizens to own the insurance policy outright since it's from another country. So they may have to establish a U.S. trust, or if they've got a business entity here in the U.S.
Okay, well, let's flip it then. So let's say that that's true, that the company I'm domiciled, or I was born in domiciled citizenship, they say, no, you can't own it outright, but you could in an island, that's okay.
Yep.
In America, though, are we saying the same thing then in reverse? Okay, it has to be owned by the trust is there. It has to be owned by a U.S. trust. It can't be anybody else's trust from some other country.
Well, we definitely are in those countries that we know of. Once we have found out, or we have the legal opinion at Transamerica that it has to be third-party ownership, that's the only way we can actually place the policy. What we find is that many times those folks will already have a business entity. So, for example, last week I was talking with a producer that has a family from the Philippines. They live in Luzon, which is the large city there. They've got an LLC here in the United States that owns multiple real estate properties, and they're looking for coverage. Well, the Philippines is one of those places where the residents cannot personally own the U.S. policy, but they already have the entity established here in the U.S., the LLC. They can engage in some business succession planning and allow the LLC to be the owner of those policies.
Now, once death occurs and the death goes back to their beneficiaries, which I'm assuming are their children, and they're probably from Filipino descent in your example, does the government on the other side, we're sending it tax-free to the beneficiary of the trust, but is that reverting back to them? Do they have to pay any taxes for that? They've just come into money?
Possibly. There are some countries that do tax income to the beneficiaries. I would say it's probably just a handful of countries globally that will tax the death benefit. But yeah, that is always a question: is what's going to happen with the third
So
party
if we had that
taxation.
case, so there are tactical, strategic answers to that. I mean, so you
Absolutely.
have. See, this is what I like. I keep thinking about things where you get checkmated on this, and it sounds like your team over the years have developed
Yes.
responses to tactical and strategic hangups and challenges that really the advisor doesn't have to worry about so much of this anymore.
No, that's absolutely right.
This has been really thought out well. I mean, Carrie, you guys have done a really great job. Your team is one of the premier teams in the United States. And I think this is a huge area. And because I'm so involved in social media, I think I'd be testing the waters out here. I think
Yes.
there's a serious way to niche your practice and really separate you out of the pack.
That's absolutely right, Steve.
Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, and your broker-dealer compliance department. And now I have to add another one, the carrier who's writing this business. Missed an episode? Just hop out to our video archives. And remember, you could be wiser as an educated advisor. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you tomorrow.